Good evening, guys. I have some bonus shows for you. The first bonus show is show D. We're talking about family caregiving becoming the backbone of the U.S. care system. So here we go with tonight's discussion D. Please join me in tonight's discussion. Here we go. Caregiving can feel overwhelming, disorientating, and lonely. And the article you're reading lays out in vivid research-backed detail why that emotional toll is so common, what it looks like in real life, and how caregivers can begin to reclaim their own well-being while still showing up for the people they love. The scale of the problem. Family caregiving is now the backbone of the U.S. long-term care system. The article explains that about 45 million Americans are unpaid caregivers, providing work valued at $873.5 billion annually. This isn't a side issue. It's a massive invisible workforce. Popping up a system that cannot meet demand. Most states are unprepared. Research cited on the page shows that only a handful of states meet benchmarks for supporting their aging populations, while nearly half are approaching a caregiving emergency. Families are forced into impossible choices, with professional care scarce or unaffordable. Many households, especially middle and low income families, must decide between inadequate services or taking on full-time care themselves. This context sets the stage for why the mental health toll is so profound. Caregivers are doing essential complex work with little structural support. How caregiving erodes mental health. The article uses the story of Aisha Atkins, who cared for both parents with dementia, to illustrate the emotional terrain caregivers navigate. Emotional and psychological strain, loss of joy and identity. Aisha describes no longer enjoying things that once brought her comfort, an early sign of burnout. Many caregivers recognize. Chronic stress and exhaustion. The article lists hallmark burnouts, symptoms, depression, fatigue, sleep disruption, low self-esteem, and feelings of hopelessness. Hypervigilance, being on 24/7, especially when caring for someone with dementia or psychiatric symptoms. Keeps the nervous system in a constant state of alert. Relationship strain. Caregiving reshapes family dynamics, often creating tension with the person receiving care and with their loved ones. Trauma exposure. The article is usually candid about the trauma caregivers can experience, witnessing hallucinations, delusions, aggression, or rapid personality changes in a loved one can deeply destabilizing. Some caregivers develop PTSD, a reality that is rarely acknowledged publicly. Why burnout happens. The page ties burnout to a mix of personal and systematic factors, role reversal, and grief. As a parent becomes unrecognizable, financial strain, and lack of insurance coverage for needed services. Isolation, especially when caregivers cannot leave the home. Lack of respite care, meaning caregivers have no meaningful breaks. The article emphasizes that burnout is not a personal failure, it's a predictable outcome of unsupported caregiving. What caregivers can do. The article offers a grounded, compassionate set of strategies, many drawn from Asia's own healing process. Seek mental health support. Asia eventually accessed a range of treatments, which were group therapy, psychiatry, talk therapy, CBT and DBT, brain spotting, transcranial magnetic stimulation. The article stresses the importance of culturally competent care, noting that shared lived experience can build trust and improve outcomes. Build a circle of supports. Communicate early with family and friends about diagnoses and needs. Clarify the medical team so you're not navigating specialist alone. Explore respite care, including state programs and VA services. Have early conversations with the care recipient about their preferences to reduce future decision-making stress. Reclaim personal well-being. The article highlights foundational practices. Guys, you have to make sure that you have an outlet yourself so that you can decompress after work. So the next day when you come in to service a client, you don't bring it with you. Eating regularly and nourishingly, move your body, get consistent sleep, staying hydrated, practicing self-compassion. These aren't luxuries, they're protective factors against burnout. Resources and article highlights. Resources the article highlights. The page lists both identity specific and caregiver specific resources, including inclusive therapies, therapy for Black girls, Latinx therapy, beam therapy, Asian Mental Health Collective, Family Caregiver Alliance, Arch National Respite Network. It also notes crisis resources for anyone experiencing severe distress. The core message: caregiving is love in action, but without support, it can become emotionally and psychologically devastating. The article argues that caregivers deserve the same level of care, compassion, and community that they pour into others. Seeking help isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign, it's a necessity. It's a necessary step forward, sustaining both the caregiver and the care recipient. Okay, quick reference list for caregivers. A slideshow ready summary for trainees, or a myth versus fact sheet about caregiver mental health. Guys, there's your resources for the night. Here comes the second half of D for you, which is caregivers' mental health crisis is widespread, under-recognized public health problem. Nearly half of family caregivers report anxiety or depression, and millions more are taking on unpaid care that the health system cannot fully support. The Forbes piece by Deborah Barrett frames this as urgent and systematic. If you're in PA, these national trends likely affect what local caregivers face today. Okay, so what the Forbes article says at a glance. Author and framing. The piece Caregivers' Mental Health Crisis by Deborah Barrett. Forbes, October 2, 2025, argues that caregiver mental health needs the same urgency as physical health. Key prevalence figures. About 47% of family caregivers reported anxiety, depression, or other mental health challenges in the past year. Scale of unpaid care. The broader caregiving economy includes tens of millions of unpaid caregivers whose labor is valued in the hundreds of billions of dollars annually. Studies cite in related reporting estimates for 44.6 million caregivers and 873.5 billion in equivalent labor. Why this matters. Mechanism like linking caregiving to poor mental health. Chronic stress and sleep disruption from round the clock responsibilities increases risk for anxiety, depression, role reversal, and grief when a loved one's personality or function changes can produce prolonged bereavement and trauma responses. Financial strain and lack of formal supports force many families into impossible trade-offs that compound emotional burden. Who is most at risk? Primary family caregivers, spouses, adult children, and those providing care for people with dementia or serious mental illness face higher risk of burnouts. Lower income households and caregivers without access to paid give me 1 second, folks. Respite or affordable services are especially vulnerable. Practical steps. The article and related sources recommend. Treat caregiver mental health as clinical need. Screen caregivers for depression, anxiety, and connect them to therapy or psychiatry when indicated. Build practical supports. arrange respites, clarify medical terms or teams, and plan early conversations about care preferences to reduce crisis decision making. Okay. Self-care basics. Consistent sleep, nutrition, movement, and peer support are protective against burnout. Risks, trade-offs, and what to watch for. Delay seeking help increases risk of severe depression or PTSD-like symptoms. Relying only on informal supports without systematic change. Paid leave, respite, funding, shifts. Cost to families and worsens inequities. Next steps for you actionable. If you're caregiving now, ask your primary care clinician to screen you for depression, anxiety, and request referrals. Document specific tasks you need help with so others can provide concrete supports. Find trusted resources. Start with AARP's caregiving resource for practical guides and local referrals. Okay, guys, so that is your D for the night. So I think I'm done. I will see everybody for tomorrow for shows. For now, Gator Wellness, take care, folks.